And as you would have experienced over the past weekend, a cold front has hit parts of South Africa since last night. And the South African Weather Service says cold to very cold temperatures are expected in most parts of the country over the next few days, with snow in high-lying areas. And for more insight on this, we're joined by Lehlohonolo Thobela from the South African Weather Service. Lehlohonolo, thank you so much for your time. Good morning. It is bitterly cold. That's, no prizes for guessing there. But nonetheless, I think the concern would be how long this would persist for. Good morning.
Good morning, thanks for having me. Yes, it has been cold. I think from the southwestern parts of the country over the weekend, that's when we experienced much more of the effect of the cold front. But as it moves further east, southwest of the country, and then it moves further eastern parts, that's when we are feeling what we are feeling right now. This cold front behind it carries a lot of cold air, and as it carries a lot of cold air, it's assisted by another system behind that pushes all the cold air over into the country. Most of the country's conditions are expected to be cold to very cold. Very cold conditions are expected in areas in the high-lying areas where we have also experienced some snow.
All right, and it's always fascinating to understand the science behind the weather, whether it is climate change or it has to do, as you're saying, with just general weather patterns. Is this normal for a winter season for us to experience such cold weather patterns?
For winter, yes. It's quite a common thing to have cold conditions, especially in the times where we're in the peak of winter now, being in July. We're having that cold front significantly dropping temperatures, which then is not our first cold front that has occurred over South Africa. However, it's the first to drop such temperatures over into areas over the northern parts, spreading over to Gauteng. We're expecting maximum temperatures to be dropped over between 9 and 13 degrees Celsius off the maximum temperature. That's quite a cold temperature. With windy conditions expected to be blowing over, then that will make the coldest time being more than what we would feel for a temperature that is measured. Because as windy conditions blow further, they increase the type of cold that a person receives. With that being said, we also remember that we're expecting some light snowfall and sleet over the eastern high-veld regions of Mpumalanga and the escarpments such as Belfast, Dahlstrom, Rosendal Pass, Mariepskop, Mount Anderson, and Ermelo, with maximum temperatures not expected to exceed about 6 degrees Celsius. So you can imagine what's that going to do to the public and the small stock farmers who have livestock.
Yeah, so now here in the Highveld, though, I could be exaggerating, but it literally felt like minus 4 or 5 degrees, it's sub-zero temperatures. You can correct me if I'm wrong. And then you can also highlight to us which other areas are heavily affected, as you mentioned, in terms of the impact it will have not only on livestock, but just general livelihood.
Yes, in the central and the northern parts of the country, minimum temperatures did reach those conditions, as you've said. We had Pretoria being 0 degrees Celsius, Johannesburg -2, and some -5 over Vereeniging. Those are the midnight, overnight minimum temperatures that were experienced. But in terms of maximum temperatures, no sign of temperatures being or reaching more than 10 degrees Celsius over the central and the southern parts of the country. It's just mainly Pretoria that's expected to reach a maximum of 13 degrees Celsius. However, if you can imagine how cold that is, most of the conditions spreading over to the northern parts and the eastern parts, temperatures seems to be peaking at maximum of about 17 degrees Celsius. So it's really a cold winter for most parts of the country.
Yeah, and according to your forecast, you did say that it will take over a couple of days, and generally I think your forecast is over a week, possibly even longer. How long is the cold weather going to persist at the level or degree that it is at right now?
Temperatures are starting to peak after day 3, would be probably Wednesday. That's when the charts start moving over slightly into 18 to 19 degrees Celsius for most areas over the northern parts. However, it looks like the whole week we are yet to experience a cold temperatures, with temperatures peaking up to 17 if you're lucky, and you're the further northern parts, Limpopo and Mpumalanga, then would reach 20. But most parts of the country are expected to remain cold for the remainder of the week.
And where does the weather pattern emanate from? Because we know, like, especially from Lesotho, Indaba Zokahlamba, Drakensberg, and then, of course, here in Gauteng, I think we catch the tail end of it, or is it intensified by the time the weather pattern settles?
So in winter, we usually experience cold fronts, and they usually start over the southwestern parts of the country, impacting Western Cape, and which brings about the showers and rain that are usually expected over the southwestern parts. As the system moves further east, in the back of the system, it carries with it cold air with cold systems and cold clouds that are there. But then it's associated with a high pressure system that comes behind the cold front. As it blows in, it blows the winds over into the country, which then results in the cold weather that we see now. And in terms of snow, then the high-lying peaks grounds usually reach their freezing level, which then will result in the snow that we are seeing right now.
And what has history taught us? It's in the sense that, you know, what previous weather patterns look like. I don't know how far back you would do your research, but is this just something that we'll probably have to live with for quite a while in the very, very cold weather patterns?
Yes, I mean, they say it's a blessing and a curse. Some people are chasing snow, some are not. But yes, in winter, we are here to experience much more of the cold conditions that we are experiencing as now. In history, we are yet to see most of the snow occurring in August, and some parts of the country would also experience some snow, especially areas like Underberg and them over July. But most of the time, we experience snow, or most of the snow that falls in South Africa is seen in August. But now, as we see right now, we are yet to, it's not uncommon of snow to occur when it's cold, because then if you think about it, a fridge receives ice because it's cold, not ice because it's cold.
I suppose we don't have to seek a white Christmas anywhere else, you know, where there is snow, albeit it's not Christmas, but nonetheless, we have our own snow supply. As you're saying that it's both a blessing and a curse, depending on your perspective. But we really, really appreciate it, Lehlohonolo. Maybe a word of warning to be it motorists or community members, residents in certain areas, low-lying areas, any word of advice that you'd give there?
In terms of such cold, I think mostly if you're a farmer, keep your livestock in a safe and warm place. And if you're at home, make sure that you're warm. And if you're not at home, you make sure you're also at warm. If you're driving to chase snow, just drive with caution and just check where you're driving around the area. If there's a lot of snow, you don't know where your vehicle is much stronger to move about. Park your car and walk to your snow.